This is where the fun begins. My name's Mark, and this is episode 60 of the Holocron Chronicles. I'm joined, as always, by my trusty co-pilot, Charlie Carden. Charlie, how you doing today?
Woo! Flying the spaceways, just you and me, baby blue. And with so much to talk about. No, I'm doing great.
That's
this
it.
Is good.
Yeah, it's an unusual episode where it's just the two of us. But we figured we have so much to talk about with Star Wars Celebration that we didn't want to take away any time from a guest who we usually would like delve deep into their Star Wars origin and all that fun stuff. And we said, like, you know, it's kind of a packed episode anyway. We don't want to take away from someone's story and make them feel rushed to try to get through everything. So we'll take a pause on guests this week. We'll go through the Star Wars Celebration stuff, still stick up with the Mando episode recaps and wrap it up there. So yeah, that's kind of it for this episode. But how are things?
Things are good. It was it's funny, we before we jump too hardly into news, Celebration, which we're going to be talking about, was in London, and then it was announced just today that Celebration is taking a year break and coming back in 2025 in Japan. So I figured by the time they have one in 2027, it'll have to land back in Anaheim, right? It's just moving around the globe, unless they're going to have it in the middle of the ocean. I mean, I kicked myself because in 2019 it was in Chicago, which is 3 hours from here, and we didn't go, which is, I'm sure we had a reason. Couldn't afford it for whatever reason, but it's just, it's at the same place where we went to C2E2 not 2 weeks ago.
Right. And it's one of those things where, like, when it was in Anaheim or where was it, like, last year? It was in California.
It was in Anaheim, yeah.
So it was like, it was there, and it was like, you get plane tickets. Like, I was researching plane tickets, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll postpone it, and hopefully next year it'll be on the East Coast. And then they announced London, and it was like, shoot, okay, well, not the next year it has to be back in the States or somewhere. Maybe it'll even go to Toronto, and it'll be like in Canada. I'll be able to easily go, no problem. Even though Toronto's like further away than like Boston or New York or somewhere like that, that's
so weird,
just be weird, right? But yeah, and then Japan. I looked up, just like picked random dates to see what like maybe flights might be looking like Japan, like just
things that make you go ouch.
Just not a good time looking up ticket prices to Japan. And they haven't even announced like a city. So I was looking up Tokyo, but it could be anywhere across Japan. So I have no idea. I was just like general ballparking it, and the cheapest flights for this random weekend I picked in May, because you can't go that far ahead using I think I was using Expedia or something, which checks like all the airlines compared. But the plane tickets, and this is before like everyone in the world is trying to get to Japan for Celebration. So I'm assuming quite a significant markup for that, once those tickets become available.
Right.
Unless there's some sort of miraculous budgeting lifestyle change in my near future, Japan might not be in the cards. Disney,
out of reach.
Disney, you want to sponsor a podcast to go? Let's
that would be great. But, oh my gosh,
there we go.
They'll give us some media passes. Just all of your other expenses are covered by you.
That's all. Just a $3,000 plane ticket, and I'm good to go.
God. Oh my goodness.
But
stuff. Yes, you know what? It's the long game. Give it another 5 to 10 years. It'll end up back in the U.S. or in North America.
Canada.
Canada. Toronto would be great. I could do that.
Toronto would be, that'd be great.
Yeah, I could do that.
Did you say you're 5 or 6 hours from Toronto?
Maybe. I feel like it's maybe 6 hours from Detroit, so you'd slap another 2 hours on. So call it, 7 or 8 hours from where I'm at. Yeah. What is it for you?
Give you a sense of 24, 22.
I see, when I mapped out from where I live to where you live, that said it was 24 hours. So that's crazy. I don't know. I'd have to look at it again.
Over, down, directionally, but you could take different paths. The last time I've done the drive to Toronto a couple of times because I'm insane, and it definitely like 2 full days of driving. Realistically, if you don't want to kill yourself, 3 or 4.
But
It's
yeah,
rough.
that's essentially like if you map it in the U.S., that's from far beyond Maine to essentially Cleveland.
Mm.
If you were driving in the U.S., I mean, if I'm thinking Toronto, cross Lake Erie is about Cleveland or so, maybe further on. So anyway, wow, so very
Shows you how
inside
far
baseball.
in the middle of nowhere I am. Um, anyway, since we don't have to do introductions or anything, let's jump right
Right?
into Star Wars
Yes,
Celebration. We've been talking
let's do
about
it.
next year or 2025 and years after, but let's go through. Do you want to kind of take turns going through some of this news or what?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. And
Uh,
what's interesting is that since Extra is was just back from his vacation today, we
mhm.
were doing SFU just today, and so this was a big chunk of what we talked about in that. So I'm fresh. We even uncovered some details that even I wasn't thinking about,
All
before
right.
before we started talking. So yeah, up first we have three new movies that we're talking about. Movie number one. And this one's for you, Mark, because you're a sequel trilogy guy. You named your kid after Finn. This is the sequel to the sequel. What do you call a sequel to a sequel? Just another sequel? This is a sequel
Uh,
sequel?
if you're Nintendo, it would be the new sequel plus XL. I think it might be
There
just
you
the
go.
sequel for normal people or something
There
like
you
that.
go.
But anyway,
There
it's
you go.
yeah.
And again, I don't believe that it was described as a trilogy per se. Maybe it was,
No,
but I'm not really
no.
recalling. It
So
was
far,
simply
just
described as
one
film.
movie.
But Rey Skywalker rebuilding the Jedi Order 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker, directed by Miss Marvel's, help me out here, Shireen Obaid Chinoy.
Nailed it.
Do you do
Canadian.
it yet? I just
Yeah.
she's Canadian. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Awesome. So
Hmm.
I have a cat who is desperately trying to get my attention. Sometimes they get down here. Usually it's completely self-contained, but anyway, so if you hear a bunch of
That's always
action
making
figures go
appearance.
down,
Yeah.
that's what she's doing right now. But this is wild, and the sequel trilogy, we're gonna leave this is something that Oxford and I set off. We're gonna leave all of the haters, the neckbeards, the incels, the terrible individuals who can't deal with the fact that Star Wars had a female protagonist, that a generation of children are now behind. That's their Star Wars. That is their Star Wars, no matter what way you want to splice it. And now we're getting the chance to see the story go on, and
Yeah.
it's wild exciting. It's
And
wild
I want to
exciting.
reiterate the story of Rey Skywalker because I've seen so many people across social media be like, "Oh, I'm never calling her Rey Skywalker." Uh, earmuffs for the kids. If that's you, fuck off.
It's a character, and that
That's
was
it.
the conclusion to this arc of her journey. That's who she decided that she was. The
Yeah.
concept of found family in the world that we live in is bigger than ever. It's funny. You watch something like The Walking Dead, something post-apocalyptic. Those people lose all of their blood relatives in 20 minutes, and then whoever you end up with becomes your family. So by the end of that show, which the first phase of it ended, and now they're into the spin-offs and the sequels and whatever it is, you've got people saying, well, this is my kid. It's just a kid they found along the way, but this is my kid. I raised this kid. This is
Yeah.
one of the main characters, uh you know Rick, who was the main character, had a wife who died, had a son who died. The wife had a baby by Rick's best friend, which Rick took as his own. Then when Rick married another woman, the little girl grew up calling her mom. So it's just found family. Especially, you look at something like Star Wars Galaxy Far Far Away, war torn, across a galaxy, when you don't have any family, the family that you find. So why can't she be Rey Skywalker? That is the family she became a part of,
Right.
whether it be from Luke,
Grogu
from
and Din
Kylo. Yeah,
are a
yeah,
family. It's
exactly,
your
exactly.
son. They've been saying that, especially, but really driving it home this season.
And they're
My
not even the
dad was
same
the same
species.
way. Yeah.
My God, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, Rey Skywalker, fight me. Let's go, trolls.
yeah,
Bring it.
yeah.
I
Don't be
am
ridiculous.
so excited. And so far, the only casting they've announced is Rey. I really hope they just back up the apology van. I don't think at this point it's even a matter of backing up a dump truck full of money. I think it's a good script and a sincere apology and the promise to do better to get John Boyega back on. And
Yeah.
I can't picture Rey's story moving on without Finn. I can picture a world where like Poe and the rest of the rebels are off doing,
The
rebuilding the
the
new
the, the
Republic.
new Republic.
Right. And
Like
I
it's
can
like New Coke.
picture
Right.
a world where that's kind of happening in a different part, and Rey's kind of off doing her own thing and rebuilding the order, and they're maybe
Yeah.
mentioned. But like I just I feel like Finn has to be a part of that story, and I'll be very sad if it doesn't happen. But I also understand John Boyega's hesitancy and reluctance to return to the franchise. He feels like he's done with it. He's good. Um, but I'd love for them to figure that out. So we'll see. So the next one we got is the first Jedi, and this is going to be set 25,000 years before, I guess, before the Skywalker saga started, before Episode 1. And this is James Mangold, fresh off of directing Indiana
Snapped
Jones,
and whoosh,
pitched
snicked witchy.
as, and we did. We're not really going to mention that because we're mostly focused on Star Wars, but we did get a new trailer for Indiana Jones and the
Oh,
Dial of Destiny.
and great new merch. It's funny where I'm sitting right now.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my now complete 5-figure set of the new Indiana Jones Marvel Legends / Star Wars Black Series 6-inch figures. It was 5-figure set of Belloc Tote, Indy, of course, Marion, and Sala, and it was a or a build an artifact, and you built the arc, and it's gorgeous. I'll snap a picture for you.
Nice.
But I really did enjoy it. But anyway, they did announce a new I think a 6-figure wave, which is another and you build the Chakra Stone skull from Temple of Doom.
Very
And it
cool.
has figures from Temple of Doom and then from the new film. So anyway, yes, that's your Lucasfilm figure minute by me. And there were a lot of other Black Series figures announced, but that series in a lot of ways has kind of lost its luster. They've gone through everything, and they're almost to the point where, trust me, I see the stuff in the stores and it's really waxing and waning. I mean, the line's been around for 10 years and they've done damn near everything, you know what I mean? So it's not like with the Marvel figures where there's always something more to do if they go for a deep cut. They deep cutted Star Wars figures as much as they can do. So anyway, I'll stop
I mean,
rambling.
we'll probably get some more stuff based on some things that were announced. So that's the nice thing is they're announcing so many new Star Wars things that the Black Series, all these figures will have kind of a refresh coming up. But yeah, I guess from the older stuff they are running out, and that's one thing we won't be talking about today, aside from this kind of thing. And if it pops up again, is like the toy stuff. There's a lot of books and comics. We're going to kind of blaze through that and focus mostly on TV and movies and things like that. So if we miss something that you're passionate about, let us know. Join our Discord, talk about it there, because
Discord's where it's at.
There's only so much time that we have to record. So we focused on cinematic things, or at least the Disney Plus and cinematic. So back to
the
it,
moving
though.
pictures. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
James,
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. James Mangold directing this one, pitched it as a biblical epic, something like the 10 Commandments for Star Wars, about the dawning of the Force, who discovered it, how they learned to use it, and where the Jedi came from. So sounds super interesting. Sounds pretty early on. No casting was announced.
Right.
Just that Mangold's attached to it, and sounds interesting. I mean, they can do whatever they want. It's 25,000 years in the past.
That's what Akshay and I were going back and forth about, because I couldn't remember, and shame on me. The KOTOR era is approximately how far back? It's not this far back.
No.
Okay. It's maybe 5,000, 10,000 years.
10,000's jumping into my head, but I would have to check.
Because we know that the High Republic is about 200 or 300 years back, and then the Alkalite falls in that same bit, and then we jump back to KOTOR, which is still vaguely
4,000. I'm just checking. 4,000 years prior to the film.
So this is like
even less than I expected. Yeah. This
is absolutely new ground. I think that's very captivating. Plus, you've got a very well respected director who's already I think about to earn his bones with Lucasfilm,
Mm,
with Indy, because I just feel like, while I have been the long term skeptic of Indy 5 or Indy and the Dial of Destiny, now I'm sold. I'm convinced. I'm feeling
yeah.
really strongly about it. So we'll see. But yeah, that sounds awesome. So are we ready to move on to the third one, or do you have some other thoughts?
No, I think so. I just, this is going to be an interesting one. I think just because of how free it is, because of,
Right. Right.
is this going to be the first thing to use the Force? Because we've seen other factions use the Force kind of naturally. We've seen Night Sisters. We've seen
Right.
the oh shoot, the name's escaping me. The creature we just talked about them in the Bad Batch recap a few weeks ago. The creatures from Jedi Fallen Order, the Zepho. There we go.
Oh, the
Memory come to
Zepho.
me.
There you go.
So we know there's been other factions using the Force. Is this going to be a human? Is this going to be Yoda's species? Who's the first? Is this the first
Right.
Jedi or the first Force user? That's what I'm kind of wondering. And
Right.
it seems like it's the
Right.
first Jedi, but if they're going to
Somebody
learn it
who
from someone else,
discovers the Force, which
right?
truly a mythical energy that surrounds all life, can only be
Hmm.
discovered, not created or whatever.
Right,
Yeah, it's
right.
fascinating, and
It's
to
going to
do it in
be
a 2 hour
interesting
film.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, number three, Mr. Filoni, who appeared hatless. I made a note of it at one
Mhm.
point during one of these panels, is directing a Avengers style Mandoverse movie. That's what, when Action and I were talking about it, I thought, you know what? You look at the big, like the culmination film, and we were talking about how the DCEU really got it wrong. Like they tried to rush it and cram a bunch of stuff in, and it was a mess. Marvel, they did it, and they only did it over a span of 4 years, but they just nailed it. And that's
Mm.
kind of where the live action Filoni versus now. We've had the Mandalorian since 2019. We're in 2023 for anybody listening in the distant future. But if this film is at least 2 years away, we're now looking at 6, 7 years, whatever it is, of Mando, which then led us into the Book of Boba Fett, which has also led us into Ahsoka. So a three-pronged spinoff, kind of bringing things together, closing out interconnected stories, of which we're still going to see quite a few. And we'll be talking about the Ahsoka trailer in a moment, because there's some groundbreaking stuff there that's going to, kind of, rock your socks out. I'm in consensus with you. This is going to be Thrawn equals Thanos, and this squad equals, the Guardians of the Galaxy, because they're so cheeky. Or basically all of our quote unquote hero characters, our gray heroes, our Boba and our Fennec and our Mando and the Mandos, because we'll certainly find out when
Mhm.
we talk about Mandalorians later on that the one has become many. It takes a village, and that's what we got now. So Grogu, maybe they'll finally toss a wig on Sebastian Shaw and he could be Luke Skywalker. I don't know, Sebastian Stan. However they're going to play it.
Mhm.
This is incredible. It reminds me of, and again, I don't know that it was done. It certainly wasn't done to its conclusion, because that program went on afterwards. But the X Files, which came on in 92, 93, filmed in Canada, British Columbia,
Yep.
in 1998, they had a summer movie, which was like, oh, this one's gonna grow some plot threads or whatever. But it ended up being kind of an interstitial between that air came out of summer between seasons of a show that went on for like another 2 years. So this is
Mm.
not that. This is going to be like, maybe, we haven't heard anything about another season of Mando, so maybe Mando's done. But maybe Ahsoka gets a season or two, or maybe, they haven't said anything about Boba, but maybe he gets something else. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
then it all just pools together into whatever Filoni and I'm sure John Favreau have cooked up. So in a lot of ways, this is in some ways a safe choice, because Mando is so popular. These other shows are so popular. The Jedi Jesus one that Mangold is doing, that is really a wild card. And then the Ray one, that's the one that, people who are jerks make it controversial, and it shouldn't be, but it's going to be great. You know what I mean? It's going to be a character that I have a lot of respect for. And then forging for, doing what Star Wars has been so reluctant to do in the last few years, which is choose a future, move
Mm.
forward, not like the things that Oxford might complain about, and that even I, God forbid, sometimes agree with him. Like, what did Lando have for breakfast, on the Millennium Falcon after he took Han's clothes and they flew away at the end of Empire Strikes Back? I just don't care anymore. I don't want, what night is pizza night on the Rebel cruiser? You know what I mean? I want something new and different. I want to see a new threat, a new big bad, something that doesn't have to do with Palpatine, something that doesn't have to do
Mm.
with the old Skywalker saga. Um, just move it forward. Give us a new crazy villain. Give us the Yuzan Vong if you have to, but maybe not. Give us something. You know what I mean? Give us
Yeah.
something absolutely crazy. But yeah, and Axel and I were talking. He says, you'd like to think that since they march these people out on stage or they set it at this big event, that maybe these are going to be things that are actually not going to get canceled.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and apparently, so we didn't mention, but the Rey Skywalker movie is like planned for 2025. Seems to be moving
Wow.
pretty quickly.
So
Kathleen Kennedy said she expects the finished script at the end of the month.
wow.
So they've been plugging away at this and not really saying anything. We know from Instagram that Daisy was at Lucasfilm. She was at the headquarters. She was having meetings there months ago, kind of when she came back to social media. And people were like, is this just a general? Is she just like going back to reminisce, or are they working on something new? And apparently it's working on something new. So she was back signing contracts and
Wow.
finding out how things are going, maybe script meetings, whatever. So we know this is something more. I do have a couple of notes on the Mandoverse movie from Dave Filoni. So we do
Yeah.
have a quote back from February. So this is fairly recently that Jon Favreau confirmed that they have no ending of the Mandalorian planned.
But
They
nothing
basically,
announced.
but nothing announced, of course. But
Mm-hmm.
um, basically says that it's going to continue however long he and Disney deem it necessary, hopefully without uh, overstaying their welcome. But
Mm-hmm.
um, it's not like there's a finale that we're building to that they have in mind. So reading that, I'm reading this movie as more of an Avengers, especially Avengers 1. This isn't Endgame to me. This doesn't feel like, like this is going to end and everything's going to be done. Mandalorian's finished. I picture this as like Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew. All these shows are interconnected. And even going back to Rebels, I think we're going to really find out that Rebels happen and set up things for the same universe. And I think that's all going to come to this Avengers thing, and then they're going to go off. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
might find, if this is Loki or Thanos, we might find an Ultron that brings some of these people back again later. But
Right.
I don't think
Right.
this is going to be the ending to any series or show or characters, or well, unless some people die, who knows. But
Right.
like, I think Grogu could show up in the Rey Skywalker movie as well, because I mean,
Right.
he's not going to be that old. I think by that time he should be about as old as Yoda was when he started training
He'll
Padawans.
be he'll be speaking and not speaking
Right.
backwards because
Right.
we know that's not really a thing. That's that's just that's the long whoops I just kicked my camera, excuse me. That's the long con from Yoda. He's just ghosting people with
Yeah.
that backwards talk and speak. It's not real.
That's it. That's it. So that's exciting to me. Yeah, thrilled for all three of these movies. They all sound really cool, and they sound like Star Wars is moving forward, whether they're going way back or forward or kind of
Right.
telling a story that's culminate. But it seems like they're all going in very different directions. And as we're going
And
to find out, like I did mention Skeleton Crew briefly in there, and we'll talk about that later. But next up, we have some Ahsoka news, and that's dropping in August. We saw a new trailer that looks amazing. Alongside Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka, we finally saw Natasha Leobardizzo's Sabine. We
mm-hmm.
saw Mary Elizabeth Winstead officially announced. This has been rumored for a little while as Hera. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people didn't realize she was married to Ewan McGregor.
No
So
clue.
we've got,
Absolutely
yeah,
no clue. That's
Mr. and
awesome.
Mrs. Obi-Wan in Star
And of
Wars. I didn't
course,
know that. My wife pointed out to me.
a very old factoid about Ewan McGregor is that his uncle is Dennis Lawson, who is Wedge Antilles of the Rogue
Yeah.
Squadron, Rebel Alliance. Yes,
We
old factoid.
we were just watching. We just watched A New Hope this weekend, and Empire actually, and
Mm-hmm.
just because getting in the swing of everything, and that's I
Yeah,
pointed that fact out to my wife, and then she pointed out that Mrs. Obi-Wan. It was all like this little fact exchange when we were watching it.
no
So
clue. My
she's Hera
goodness,
officially, and Lars Mikkelsen back as Thrawn, another
nice.
character that we've seen the voice actor go to live action, and that is awesome. We got a very brief glimpse at Jabba the Hutt. I mean, sorry, Ezra. I was confused that. That's an inside joke for any Rebels fans. Charlie, you're staring
You're
blankly.
right.
I'm guessing that went right over your
It
head.
just it is the squirrel started spinning on the wheel again. It's happening. But yeah,
Uh,
you're right. So we did get to see all of them, and then we saw Zeb. This was I was stumbling over, and I have a
and
Zeb action figure on the back of my shelf there. But we saw him on Mando, which I'm like, well, was he really? We never really knew that. We always thought that he just went off and that was his destiny. But I
right,
guess for a little while he was hanging with the New Republic. So anyway,
yeah.
so now that means well, with the exception of Kanan, unless they cast somebody to have him pop up in a flashback, we've seen everybody, including Chopper. We've seen everybody in live action
Chopper.
by the time this comes out.
We haven't seen Hera's son,
Right,
who you can
is
presume
Jason or
should be in
Jazen?
there.
Yeah.
And but another one we did see that I didn't expect to see in this is David Tennant back as Hugh Yang, which is we
Whoa.
just talked about again in a couple of episodes ago. Who is the droid lightsaber builder that helped the Jedi Padawans build their first lightsaber, and
Oh
he's the droid that
yeah.
says, "I guess we should build another one." And that I don't know if that's Ahsoka getting new lightsabers, building a new Jedi Order, whatever it is. But it's David Tennant back as that character from the animated, the Clone Wars series, going back that way. So
Wow.
we're seeing
That got
Rebels, we're
that
seeing
got by
Clone
me.
Wars, we're
Yeah.
seeing stuff coming everywhere. We also got new characters, so we got Ray Stevenson and Ivana Sakno as two new characters. Reports are saying that these two are Master and Padawan survivors of Order 66. Flew
Oh.
to the far outer rims, got a little bit lost out there, kind of turned a little bit to the dark side, or mostly to the dark side, and might be loyal to Thrawn. I say a little bit dark
Mm.
side because, curiously enough, and Dave Filoni did comment on this and acknowledged it, their lightsabers are not red. Their
Right.
lightsabers are orange, or at least a dark orange, which is different from Sith and even most dark side users that we've seen, like Kylo Ren.
Oh.
Very curious stuff. So I can't wait to see
Right.
more about this and more about their characters.
Right.
But yes, Filoni has confirmed these are not red sabers. So we'll see.
Wow. Crazy, man. That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. So we get this in August. We don't have a date, but who cares? We'll
August
get
is
one
close
soon.
enough. Yeah.
But yeah, August is great in August for the for us Star Trek lovers. We also get Lower Decks back, the show that Mark
I'm
will
going to
someday
watch it
watch
before
episode of.
August. I guarantee you that.
I will. There you go. It's a very fun show, and knowing about Star Trek is not necessary because it's
All
just
right.
it's a spoof. All right, the I kept screwing this up in pronunciation. It's the acolyte, the alsolite, acolyte,
The Acolyte.
L
Yeah.
acolyte, like
Acolyte. You got it the
Seltzer.
first
That's
time.
what
You
I
got it.
said.
You nailed it.
Seltzer. So we got more casting from that show, including Rebecca Henderson playing an established High Republic character, Vernestra Raw. Oh, that is a Star Wars name all the live long day. So you said you saw a piece of a trailer then.
I
Your notes
did.
say here.
Yes,
Oh
I did.
my.
I saw a leaked glimpse of a trailer that someone had shared through a little group, like Star Wars group chat that I'm in, and as we were trying to watch them, they were getting taken down. Like, that's how
Oh
quick they
man.
were taking these down. So I
Wow.
saw like part of a leaked trailer.
So it
But what I
lives in your
saw looks
memory.
badass.
I love
It does.
it.
It
Good
look. It's
deal.
High Republic. There's a lot of stuff going on, but it very small glimpse. So I can't wait for them to actually release this trailer. It's a shame that they showed it off in these panels and didn't show it to the public, but I guess that's how it works, right?
Yeah, I mean that's how it worked last year with Mando season 3 trailer. They sat on that,
Exactly.
but still, you got the grainy cell phone footage out there that we watched at least for that
Correct.
last year, where you saw, oh, here's Mando approaching, coming back to Mandalore and stuff. We saw all that, so
Yeah.
yeah, super duper crazy. So, and then you had a similar experience with a teaser trailer for Andor season 2, which we've known about,
Yeah.
and again taken down halfway through filming with a release date of August 2024. So that'll be the same window that Ahsoka has for this year. So
Mm-hmm.
so they're really functioning on a, if you're looking at 2 live action shows a year, on like a February August window, which is, it was funny
Makes
because
sense.
that's what Star Trek does too, with a
Mm-hmm.
third show, with a third live action show in the summer. That should be Strange New Worlds to be in June.
Right.
So it'll probably match that. It'll probably match it, and that's what streamers do now. Betraying the old model, which used to be, the September to May season, and then summer was for reruns back when I was a kid, and that
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't exist anymore. Stuff is year round. Stuff gets dropped all at once, as as the old ways tend to drop away. So that's fine. We live in a world of on-demand entertainment, and that's okay. So, Skeleton Crew, talk to me about Skeleton Crew.
First, I need to go back to the Acolyte for 2 seconds
All right,
and
rewind.
just go. Leslie Headland's initial pitch for this show was so bonkers that I need to touch on this. She pitched it as Frozen meets Kill Bill.
Now, we brought that up on SFU as well, and it's just like, what?
What?
So she's swinging a saber and singing, and
I
heads getting lopped off. I mean, what's going
Is
what's
it
going on
like
with
an
that?
out? But well, I see. I take that
What's
as
the
more of an
yeah?
outcast that was trying to hide her powers, and the
Not
family
the
maybe trying
singing
to
and
hide her,
the
didn't want her
dancing,
taken away, kind of thing. Maybe, hey, if we do get some musical stuff in Star Wars, I'm all for it. But I'm taking it more as like, try to suppress your powers. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe some bad shit's gonna happen. I don't know.
right?
But and meets Kill Bill. I'm excited for this show. Beyond excited.
That's yes.
Um,
Chop
we've
chop
got
chop.
Wookiee Jedi, we've got a lot of lightsaber stuff. This is going to be
Right.
like High Republic at its best, and I'm excited to see it in live action, not just in comics and books, even though they're great. So yeah, sorry, we can move on to Skeleton Crew. Was showing off a little bit. I didn't see any bit of this. Nothing that was leaked would work for me, but the descriptions of the clip saying that Jude Law's character has a connection to the Force. He was seen floating a key to his hand. One of the kids screams, he's a Jedi. We don't know if he's a Jedi or if he's just Force sensitive and knows how to do some shit.
Right.
But it takes place, like I said before, during that same time frame as Ahsoka and Mando.
Oh,
So
there
I'm
you go.
wondering, so this is pitched as more of a ground level, what do everyday people do in this universe and what happens when some stuff goes awry. Apparently these kids are mixed up with some pirates accidentally. They're playing and they end up on a ship, and their parents are saying, please come home, and they run into Jude Law, who tries to help them. And it's like an Amblin movie in the Star Wars universe of like the Goonies or this kind of stuff, of like, that's the
Yeah,
very
yeah.
kind of vibe that they're going for with this. Um, so I don't know if they're too far outer rim. Maybe they could run into Thrawn and Ezra if they're that far out in the galaxy.
Right, right.
Is there going to be some possible crossover, some appearances set up for that like Mando verse movie? Would Jude Law's character, would some of the kids be in there? Who knows? But there's the potential because it is in the same timeline, and they made sure very specifically to say that it was in the same timeline as Ahsoka, as Mando. Why would they bother taking time up on the stage to like really point that out if there wasn't some potential of a crossover? So that's what I'm
Mm.
reading into this one.
I love it.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So, looks like wrapping up this portion of it, Tales of the Jedi season 2 was announced. No dates or other news about it. So the Tales of the Jedi were those recent vignettes that we got,
Yeah.
and they dropped, I think, back last October. Just
Mm-hmm.
little, 8 to 15 minute kind of bits and pieces. So yeah, no telling kind of really what that would sound like, but
Well, yeah, and that
but
like
it'll all be something fun, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's where we got more of Ahsoka's origin, of Yaddle's story, of Count Dooku. So
Yep.
it could focus
Right.
on
Right. Right.
any Jedi really at this point. So I'd like to see. I think we already went through like who would we like to see. I'd love to see more of like Cal Kestis or his Jedi master before he started or as he started training Cal, or like Kit Fisto. There's so many cool Jedi that we can focus on more of their backstory in these little vignettes
Yeah. Right.
that I think would be
Right.
pretty great. So we got that, and mentioning Cal, we did get a new gameplay trailer for Star Wars Jedi
Oh,
Survivor.
which I
Lightsaber
think I've seen
action.
in bits and pieces. Yeah. Yeah.
Holy crap, it looks so good. There's some epic lightsaber action. There's a scene where he's like fighting a stormtrooper on a speeder bike, and his like
Oh, I did
lightsaber's
see that.
locked
I
in
saw
this
that on
thing, and then
Twitter.
he just force yeets the stormtrooper into
Right
a
into it.
TIE fighter that's coming up. Like,
Low flying TIE fighter. Oh, squish.
holy
Yeah.
shit,
Ouch.
I'm so excited for
That,
this. There's like
that's
team
as
up
cold
battles,
as
shows him
ice.
and Marin and another I forget the character's name, but there's another guy that comes in, and it looks like they're just
Yeah.
like trading punches with whoever they're fighting. So like it looks great. And Cameron Monaghan was there. He's delightful and hilarious. Literally gave a fan the poncho off his back and just threw it to a Cal Kestis cosplayer in the crowd. Like he's a Jedi. Say like he
He
literally
is
gave the shirt off his back to
selfless.
someone. He is the
Very
Jedi
selfless,
Jedi.
like a
Like
real Jedi. Yeah.
it's fantastic. So I hype levels are through the roof of this for this game for me. I can't wait, and it seems like it's going to be like
When
action game of the year.
when will we really get Cal
3 weeks
Kestis in
we get this game.
a production?
Oh, in a
No, like
production? Oh,
in a show.
not
In a
soon
show.
enough. Not soon
Yes,
enough.
but it is inevitable. There's no there's no
Yeah.
there won't be. So Bad Batch, which we're just wrapping up now, Mark, with our friend, I was gonna say our friend
Yeah.
group 99, our friend Force 99. We've had 2 releases on our Patreon, which I think we totally blew past. Giving a very special thanks to our Patreons. We love the Patreons
Yes.
that support
Shoot.
our network here. I know, but yeah, no, we're very thankful of folks like Jamie Prinky, Missy Merchant, and the Nias family. Thank you very much for being there for us. But yeah, with our friend Force 99, we've had 2 Patreon releases where we pulled the Bad Batch out of this show because it was too much to try to balance talking Bad Batch and talking Mando and having a show that went 2.5 hours long, because that's just not where we're at for the most part. So we've had 2 of those releases. Mark, I know, is that we're sitting on the talking about episodes 15 and 16. Mark, I also know you're going to pump that first one out to the regular feed, so you regular folks are going to get to hear what we're talking about.
Everyone's. I think all 3 episodes of that are going to drop very quickly on the main feed. So Patreon listeners are going to get that first. I'm going to drop the final one probably before you're actually listening to this, or around the same time, and then a very short amount later, everyone is going to get to listen to the whole thing. So it's all coming up very quickly.
I love listening to those too, because the format is we record them separately and then Mark splices them together. So then I get to hear what Mark and Kay think about the episodes we watch, and that's kind of
very
fun.
Different. Yeah, it's my wife even listened to one and was like, I kind of dig this format because it is like very much like solo monologuing breakdowns of the episodes with her own personal thoughts. There's no back and forth. It's not a conversation like this. Like you record kind of right after you watch it. I record like right before I put everything together, and Kay kind of like it writes it out and it gives more thoughts. So it's very different.
And I usually, it's funny because down in the studio, I have a little TV, which also doubles at our booth. We're working at Comic-Con this weekend, so I got to break it down and take it upstairs to set up our booth. And I usually will watch the episode and be taking my notes, and then I'll record. It's a very fluid process. I like. So at any rate, we've gone on and on about this, but I'm very excited to have this drop out. We did find out that Bad Batch will get its 3rd and final season. I'm going to guess, like I said, I believe that these things all follow an annual basis. So I'm thinking we'll get the Bad Batch probably, what do we get it? January? Do we get early January?
Yeah, I think so.
So not even, so just basically about 9-10 months away. And we'll see the end of that story. So, that was another figure announcement. We saw a complete set of season 2 Bad Batch characters. So in their new cool chipped up armor. I took a pass on the season 1 One's because they were tough to find. The figure game is a tough one because, and that's got to be harder up in Canada because a lot of them will be, oh, it's a Target exclusive. You guys don't have
Yeah, we
Target.
don't even have Target anymore.
So where do those go? I don't even know if you can order those online or whatever. But
Yeah.
you guys do have Toys R Us, but that doesn't
Yeah.
really help you out very much with that kind of stuff. So these will all be general release, or I think one of them might be a Walmart exclusive, or a couple of them. But at any
We
rate,
do have
Walmart
Walmart.
exclusives you can at least order them online. So I'm planning to get that whole set and kind of fill out the middle shelf here of my figures. So, but anyway, okay, Visions. That's the other big trailer.
Yeah.
You take that one, please.
Sure. Yeah, we just got this trailer dropped today. Vision Season 2. We had the studios announced a little while ago, but this is the first look we have. It looks delightful. It's coming out May 4th, so we don't have that long to wait. There's 9 new shorts from 9 global animation studios. These are considered non-canon, although Vision Season 1, I remember back when we were talking about those, some of them fit more in canon than others, so it's going to be a
Right.
weird little mixed bag of like, I think this could probably fit in canon, or that's definitely not fitting anywhere. So it'd be interesting to see. Looks delightful. I can't wait to talk more about it. But that's kind of it for our coverage anyway. I'm sure we missed some stuff.
They did a lot, but
Did
yes,
they ever?
yes.
I did put out on my Instagram story, like literally 10 minutes before we started recording, 15 minutes before we started recording, that I was wondering what other people thought of Celebration. So we got Jedi Mama said Hayden receiving the love he deserves. That was her favorite part of Star Wars
Yeah.
Celebration.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you watched that panel. The
I
crowd
did.
went
I
nuts
watched a little bit
for
of it.
like
Yeah, I watched a little bit of
10
it.
minutes, gave this guy like just all the love he deserved. And it was fantastic to see. Like, it was just, you could tell he was getting choked up and emotional, like, and you couldn't help but get choked up and emotional watching it, just because like he went through so much shit, like the whole cast did for all the prequels, like stuff that they never deserved. And to see him back on stage with people just losing their freaking minds was amazing. And it was the same kind of thing anytime someone even remotely mentioned Ahmed Best. It was the same kind of
that poor
reaction.
man. Oh my goodness.
And
It's just
it's so good, so good to see them. And yeah, like Jedi Mama said, so well deserved. Those kind of things are just, that's awesome to me.
Yeah,
I agree.
Sweet. Well, that's a wrap on that. But as always, keep the conversation going over on our SFU Discord. You can hit Mark and I up on the socials, which we'll tell you about at the end of the show. But keep the conversation going. That's where you can find us. Mandalorian episodes 5 and 6. I'll just jump right in. I will be happy to read number 5. That's Pirate. Peter Ramsey is the director. Jon Favreau writing this from just a couple of weeks ago on March 29. In retaliation for Vane's expulsion, Goran Shard invades Navarro. That's that's Pizza the Hut, the veggie Pizza the Hut guy, right? Wasn't he? Or Swamp
Greg.
Thing? Old
Greg. Swamp Thing. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, basically, it's what you pull out of a pool filter. That's what this dude looks like. Seeking help from the New Republic, Apollo Creed contacts Carson Teva. Suspecting that the attack is a prelude to the new rise of an empire. And then Carson Teva, by the way, if you're not jumping on the name, is the New Republic guy, the Asian fella from what was that show, Off the Boat? Just the sitcom he was on? Was that?
No, Kim's Convenience.
Kim's Convenience. I'm sorry, mixed up a show. Kim's Convenience. There you go. Suspecting that it could be a sign of the rise of the new empire. Teva informs Colonel Tuttle, who is basically an administrator in the New Republic. So we're getting more peeks of how much the New Republic really sucks. But Tuttle shows indifference. So Teva goes and tracks down the Mando covert and asked in Jaren for help, manages not to get shot doing it, which is impressive. Din convinces the covert to come to Karga's aid despite the prior confrontations with him. And Bo assumes command of the attack force. And this is when we end up seeing dropship Mandos and all the kind of exciting stuff that we saw in those leaked trailers over the last 12 months. Mandos fight the pirates. Pond Scum guy flies away, and the pirates getting killed left and right. The other ones are detained. The Mandos are welcomed back by Apollo Creed, and he says, "Here's the land that I promised to Mando. You guys are good." So the armor connects with Bo, and the armor's like, "Tell me about your deal with the mythosaur. Do you really think that
Finally.
you saw it?" Yeah. And Bo's like, "Yeah, I totally saw it." And so the armor says, "That kind of makes you Mando Jesus. You're the one who's going to go around and you're going to reunite us. Take your helmet off." She's like, "Is this a trick?" And but she takes her helmet off, and then the armor marches her out, and all of the Mandos are like, clutch pearls. Ooh, she took her helmet off, and the armor simply says she walks both worlds. She is basically our emissary. She is now going to go out and find other Mandos for us. So we cut back to our guy Teva flying home, and he comes across an Imperial shuttle wrecked, which turns out it was Moff Gideon's prison transport, gone missing during transit. And he finds a fragment, and by using his little camera, he flies inside and finds a chunk of Beskar ally, implying that the Mandos broke Gideon out.
Mm-hmm.
Bum, 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 bum. Lot going on.
Yeah.
Super great episode. Damn, I love this episode.
Yeah, so great. Like you said, there's a lot going on. I love that we got that in the first teaser, I think, or at least one of the trailers of all the Mandos, like you said, drop shipping down.
Yeah, big time.
And it was so satisfying to see that. Just like these guys just clean house. Like, holy shit, they just took out a whole town. As a video game player, it reminds me of like some of the best parts of Halo. And just like how elite those troops are. Yeah, like especially with like oh man, what was the game? Halo Reach, I think, with more, and then there was another. Anyway, getting off topic. I absolutely loved the little nod to R5 working with the rebellion and being a rebel spy this whole time, because of that theory that he sabotaged himself to make sure that R2 went with Luke and got so like
you just think R2 said to him
now?
like, he was like, "Hey, my brother, do me a salad, will you?"
I've got these Death Star plans. I need to get out of this shit.
Yeah.
Sabotage yourself, blow your motivator.
Hook it up. Yeah, exactly.
Right? So like it worked out. He went off, and like it's so freaking perfect that's like this little thing that they shoved in there from like, episode 4. And it's like, okay, like theory confirmed. I love that they just throw those weird little things in such a packed episode. But yeah, so cool that it's that we see. I do understand it. So I've heard a lot of complaints about this episode and the next one, and this season.
The next one, yeah, I got thoughts about the next one, but yeah.
Well, this season as a whole really is focusing less on the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, and focusing more on Bo or other stories here, there, and everywhere.
Right, growing the story. Yeah, exactly. And less on Grogu too, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And this one, you can see that. You can see that it's like, okay, well, Bo is this, you're the centerpiece. You're the person who's going to unite the worlds. And you could kind of think that at this point, like, Bo was going to go off. She was going to it was going to focus back on Mando, and then she was going to go off. And the next time you see her, maybe she comes back for an appearance with Sabine, or it's a cameo or something like that. And then the next one, we jump right in and well, take it away.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I did like that, and you're right. I do. If they just kept rolling over the same old beats, even though the same way they're like, oh, we'll get into the next episode, the whole fetch quest that's the next episode. Which, anyway, I have thoughts, but we'll get there. But this one seemed a little bit more about, what, this is the first time we got the whole band together, except though obviously in the next episode we meet even more Mandos who are banded together. But the whole covert got together, and the whole church group went on an outing. They all got on their little church bus, and they went and blew some shit up. I mean, which is, it's endearing in its own. Am I right? That's kind of what it felt like.
That is
They were
very
all
different from church groups
Yeah,
that I'm
exactly.
familiar with.
Yeah, church groups just going around
That's
blowing shit
hilarious.
up. So, but no, that's how it was, and in doing so, they found themselves a new home. So, as Navarro is like, it's kind of like a Tatooine with some style, where you can get a suntan, but not like
Mhm.
not like die of dehydration.
No
Like,
burns,
I
yeah.
dig Navarro. Navarro's a cool
Yeah,
planet where
great
Tatooine's
place.
like, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I kind of dug this episode. It was nice to see the Pirate King, old Mossy McFuzzback, get blown up and have his
Mhm.
and have that taken out, and kind of see evil punished. I like that. Greep Karg has come a long way because he used to be the dude who was, sitting in the schoolhouse and dealing
Mhm.
out bounties, which was a big bone of contention between him and the pirate guys. So yeah, I dug this episode. I thought it was cool. I'm glad to see Bo's character kind of moving forward. What are you thinking about all of the shipping out there between Din and Bo? Do you think it's
Oh,
legit,
yeah.
or is it misnomer? Yeah,
Absolutely. I still don't 100% know if I can trust her. I'm trusting her more, and I'm seeing the ship a little
yeah,
bit more. This
yeah,
whole time I've been like waiting for her to be like, yeah, the throne's all that matters. I'm gonna stab you in the back. But like the more it goes on, I'm like, okay, yeah, she's kind of being like the mom to
right,
Grogu, and I think
right,
that's becoming more endearing. Like I don't think at this point Din really cares, but I think if she can kind of like wiggle in there as like, well, like kind of the de facto Grogu's mom, he'll be like, I guess it
yeah,
could do worse. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like you're just like,
yeah.
okay, yeah, you're cool with my
It's
kid, then that means I'm cool with you.
it's me or nobody. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
So
exactly.
I
Oh,
do have to ask, aside from the shipping, which I'm kind of digging. How are you feeling about that? Is it same kind of?
I mean, I like it because, again,
Okay.
all relationships are built on common interest, blowing shit up,
Yeah,
retaking Mandalore, hating on the Empire, and
common life
yeah, they
experience.
and again, like I said, common interest in family, because they got a Grogu between them, and they saved each other's lives a bunch of times, and then really, I think, he put a ring on it at the end of this next episode. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
He got
good call,
is
good
what
call.
Yeah, he was able to, kind of close the deal. So, but again, we can we yeah, certainly,
So
let's talk final thoughts before we move on.
just before we move on to that, I want to get your final thoughts on Moff Gideon. Do you think the Mandos actually had something to do with it? Do you think this is
No, total
okay? All
fake
right, yeah,
out.
you and I on the same page. That's a total
Yeah,
complete bullshit fake out that Moff Gideon
yeah,
planted some Beskar there. That's it.
right. Oh, absolutely, because he knew that whomever the New Republic would
Yeah.
then turn their attention to going after the Mandos, and now they know where to
Mhm.
find them.
Right. Right.
Because our Kim's Convenience guy tracked him down. So, oof. Yeah,
Yeah.
episode 6. I have thoughts. So,
Okay.
but you know what? I'll it was some superb execution anyway. Episode 6 is Guns for Hire, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. She's delightful, very talented. Jon Favreau is the writer. Just was on April 5th. Bo, Din, and Greggy set out for Plaisir 15, where Bo's former army, now led by ex-Woves, which basically sounds like a stripper name, have set themselves up as mercenaries. You know what? He's not bad looking either, so I could see that. Mando stripper. Before they can meet him, they are involuntarily diverted by the planet's rulers. Oh, the fetch quest. Captain Bombardier, Jack Black, and the Duchess, Lizzo. Now, my wife loves Lizzo. So that part of it was totally appreciated, kind of for what it was. But anyway, so Jack Black and Lizzo, which is all I'm going to call them, ask for help in neutralizing several repurposed but malfunctioning Imperial and Separatist droids. After stopping a rogue droid, Bo and Din follow his trail to the Resistor, a droid bar, and convince its bartender and clientele to help them out. They find out that the droids were sabotaged through nano droids. That sounds like some Star Trek stuff in the bar's maintenance fluid. So basically, they were all drunk. They were spiked. They were roofied. It was droid roofies.
Yep.
And find out they were let's and it was it's tracked back to Commissioner Hellgate, very subtle name, for top Klingon and inventor of the time machine, Mr. Christopher Lloyd, who must be about 1,000 years old. He's got to be older than my dad. He's got to be in his late 70s, I would think. So yes, they confront him. Hellgate reveals he is a separatist from back in the day. Excuse me. And then yeah, and oh my goodness, and then Bo zaps him and knocks him out. Lizzo sentences remorseful Christopher Lloyd to live in exile on the moon of Parquat. That's a very Star Wars word. For a while. That's a weird way to end that sentence. Granted yeah, exactly. It won't be too long a while. Granted an audience with the Mandalorian privateers because of this ridiculous fetch quest. Bo challenges Woes for leadership and kicks the shit out of him. It's awesome. To help her ascendance, Din admits his capture by the cyborg in the mines of Mandalore and is rescued by Bo-Katan, which rightfully bestows the Darksaber back to her. Boom! Put a ring on it! Now they're a thing. That's basically the equivalent of giving a girl your class ring or your Letterman's jacket in high school. Mm-hmm. So yes, now she's wearing Bo's Letterman's jacket. She puts on his Beskar. Maybe puts on his jetpack. Now we're going steady.
There you go.
Oh, very, very 1950s.
I freaking loved this episode. It reminded me of like goofiest shit from the Clone Wars that I just dug. I don't know if I was just feeling something goofy and I'm going to rewatch this in like 6 months or a year and be like, what the hell was I thinking? Because I do that with some of the Clone Wars episodes. Like sometimes I'm like, yeah, Jar Jar is great. And other times I'm like, skip. So I loved it. Every single episode, like every single moment of this one. I love Jack Black. I love Lizzo. They are both great. But I know, like, I understand why some people don't. The fetch quest, it was very much.
People are flipping their shit. All the hardcores 100%. Are totally down on this. Which, you know what, that's going too far. Oh, Lizzo and Jack Black are dancing around having a good time on this, and then they put it on social media. So the fuck what? They should. That's what it's for. Shouldn't people be having fun? This is not fucking Shakespeare. Star Trek is Shakespeare. This is Star Wars.
It's fun. Star Wars. I am not gonna stop dancing. Like
it's fun. It's
fun because I'm gonna dance.
People, yeah, regular people, and celebrities in particular. You're like, oh, I got a cast in Star Wars. You think they're not gonna have? You think they're gonna take it seriously? They take it seriously to a point, but other than that. It's like Daniel Tosh, who's a stand-up comedian, said, I was asked to do a high school commencement. And after it was all said and done, the principal was like, well, we really thought you were going to take it more seriously. And he was like, really? You thought this was the point that I was going to start taking something seriously? Jack Black's been doing his shtick for 25 years. He's not going to take being on Star Wars seriously.
I screenshotted this picture from Lizzo on I think it was Instagram or Twitter or both. So this is the quote from, and it was a picture of her with Grogu in the background. When I was a young girl, my dad introduced me to Star Wars like a rite of passage. The trilogies are his favorite movies and quickly became mine. When Jon Favreau called me and offered me the role of the Duchess, I cried all day, wishing my dad was still with us because he'd be so proud. Star Wars was a dream I never thought was possible, but thanks to John, Bryce, and everyone in the galaxy, I am now part of an ever-expanding saga of the stars. I am in honorable company and forever grateful. This is the way, and may the Force be with you. You have something bad to say about that one? Just like...
Not a chance. Certainly not me. Yeah, exactly. That is the beauty of, and again, I lump, this is where I do lump the Trek and the Wars together. When you're a part of that family, for better or for worse, you're always a part of that family. It's like, for example, April and I are going to the Star Trek Las Vegas con this August, which has been going on for about 10 or 15 years. They get easily well over 100 guests, 100 actors who have participated in Star Trek from 1966 to present day. And the 1966 ones are really friggin' old, but they still get them in there. But they're all loved. They're all revered. Everyone has like, oh my God, I remember that episode where you were crewman number 3 or whatever. People still know them. People say, because you become, the same thing with Star Wars. Just like, oh, you were alien, you were Ewok number 7 all the way to the left when they were, they had C-3PO flying around on his throne in Return of the Jedi. somebody's going to know it and somebody's going to dig it. Warwick Davis will always be worshipped. Anthony Daniels, until the day he dies, will show up at every single, Star Wars, whatever that he has a chance to. And people will clap and cheer. They will still enjoy it, because that's the joy of entertainment. That's what Oxford and I
Mhm.
were talking about. And he and I tend to really differ about some Star Wars things. But our topic this week, if you're not listening to SFU Prime Show, which should be up by the time you're listening to this, was Todd's concept of dumb fun in movies. What is dumb fun? It's entertainment. If it makes you smile, if you were laughing if you were clapping your hands and laughing watching Lizzo and Jack Black do their thing in this episode, that's entertainment to you. That's all that matters. If you're
Mhm.
taking it so seriously, go pick up a book if you need to take something seriously. You're not going to get it out of Star Wars. There are Star Wars books. I didn't ever take any of those seriously either. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Just have some fun with it. So I agree to a certain level, but I the other part of me just didn't want to see them keep drawing the story out because we've only got 2 episodes left. So,
Right.
How is this Moffy Giddy thing going to come together? How is that going to, compare contrast to Bo's big mission to bring all of Mando's together? And what's going to happen with that is going to lead to an all out war with Imperial remnants. That's where this must be going, because if the remnant
Yeah.
Imperial snagged him back, but then they tried to plant evidence that now the New Republic is going to come after the Mandos, and so there's some kind of three-pronged, cluster F that's going on here. That's where I feel like this is headed.
And it could be starting to set up a next season or even this big Mandoverse movie. Like, we don't really
Yeah.
know. We might not see Moff Gideon aside from like an end of the season kind of like I'm free bitches. Haha. Like
Right.
that
See
could
you in
be
season
it. And
4.
set him up right for the next season, right? Or like
Yeah,
as a
right.
big bad alongside Thrawn in whatever's coming next. Or hell, it could be Thrawn's terrible. I know I suck, but like Thrawn's worse. Team up with Moff
Right.
Gideon, and I'm the lesser of two evils. Like this, they could be going in a bunch of different ways with Moff Gideon this story.
Right.
And like as much as yeah, I understand that for sure. Like the fetch quest is like 2 episodes left. Like, are you gonna rush through the next two? Is it setting up more? But
Yeah, that's my concern. But
yeah, I get that. I get that.
I mean, think about the most powerful episode of live action Star Wars television we had was the season finale of season 2 of Mandalorian. Luke
Yeah.
Skywalker and the Dark Troopers. It's never really been better than that. So I tend to put my faith back in Favreau and Filoni and hope
Mhm.
that they deliver. And we'll know by the time we listen to this. The next to last episode will be out, and then we're teeing up to the finale. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I do have a question before we go. I mean, we're pretty much ready to wrap things up. Bo getting the Darksaber here. Is that legit? Because in the past, hear me out for a second. In the past, it's been pretty well established that not only do you have to defeat the person who has the Darksaber, but you have to claim it as your own. Which is why Sidious never owned the Darksaber, even though he kicked the
Mm-hmm.
ever-loving shit out of Darth Maul.
Did he? But didn't kill him.
Didn't kill him, but never claimed the Darksaber. He easily could have. He didn't have to kill him. He just claimed it. Just like I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming, we saw we saw Sabine. She owned the
Yeah.
Darksaber. She's not dead. She got defeated or lost it somehow or something happened,
Right.
right? Like it's
And did she lose it to Gideon? How did she?
it
Yeah.
did,
Or
did right. Like
did he just
how
not bother to follow that protocol?
so like
I don't
it's
know.
been kind of established that you have to not only have to defeat the person, but you have to claim it, whether they die or but like at some point you have to pick it up and be like, yeah, this is mine now. I've stolen it from you. I've
Gimme.
defeated you.
Yeah. Right.
Although I guess like it wasn't really claimed by Din when he defeated Gideon, so they might be just throwing that out. But like to claim that like I don't know, there's something weird to claim that the cyborg kind of defeated Din, so like he owned it and she said like I don't know. It seems like a kind of a roundabout way of like why didn't he just give it to her? Like yeah, I was defeated by a bad taco. And she
I
like rubbed
guess.
my
Yeah.
head while I was puking, so now she owns a dark saber. I don't
Oh,
know.
maybe
Like,
you know what? It could be something along the lines of the old ways are toast. The same way that she looked at him and said, "Oh, like I think I've compared this before." And again, local people listening here in Grand Rapids, we're very big with the Christian Reformed Church of America, like super, super duper Bible thumping folks, absolutely everywhere around me. And I'm not a religious guy at all. So, but they have their rules. But much like all things in, the way Homer Simpson says, "Well, what's that religion that has all those well-meaning rules that don't work out in real life?" Oh, Christianity. It could be the same thing. They have these rules that when they meet, it's kind of like the pot calling the kettle black. She meets Din, and he's like, "Oh, you take your helmet off. You're not a Mandalorian." She's like, "Oh, you're one of them." And then he's here, take this Darksaber. Well, I can't take it because my rules say blah blah. Well, then you're the one who's got to stick up your butt. So maybe it's time for them to both take their helmets off and just get down. Everybody make love. There you go. It's you know what? It's Mandalorian Woodstock. Everybody get naked. There you go.
They were out in the big grass field. Just all they need is a few speakers and a band.
Right. I'm sure there you go. Here's Hendrix playing the Star Spangled Banner. I love it.
I'm happy that it didn't come to more kind of like Din has to fight Bo because whatever rule said. Like, I'm glad that they came around with it, but like, I don't know. It was kind of weird. It was just like, the cyborg kind of kicked it away, so it's not mine anymore. Like, I don't know. It's weird. Like,
it's a weird loophole, but it's gonna be what it's gonna be. So so we got 2 left. So in our next episode, we'll just be covering. We'll be getting them both, won't we? We'll be wrapping things up.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up.
Yeah, 7 and 8. So look forward to that, and then with the Star Spangled Guest, hopefully we'll get Kay back because we wanted to have Kay on, our frequent collaborator. And she's a big Mando lover. So if not her, maybe Missy. Missy is a huge Mando fan. I think she'd really enjoy hanging out with us. But we shall see, faithful listeners, what happens when you tune back in. So with that, I shall squire you away just like the Duchess. Mark, where do people find you out there on the internet?
They can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Although I've been on Twitter a lot less lately, just because I find the vibes weird over there. But you can still find me there at _Canardian.
Excellent. Very good. Before I outro myself, I will again thank our Patreons. Please visit us over at Secret Friends Unite.com/Patreon for great new content, additional programs. I make a few myself. Mark, you make a few. Todd and I do a great show about comic books. We would love to have you join. So check out those options. Consider joining. If you're not able to, definitely feel free to pop over any one of our shows. Give us a rating on the streaming service of your choice. It pumps up our Q factor out there in the world, lets people know that you like what we do. At any rate, you can find me over on Twitter. I do still dabble at the C3. Go ahead and spell it out. I spend the rest of my time running the USS Grand Petoskey with my lovely wife, April. That is one of the biggest chapters of the International Star Trek Fan Club in the world. Our little region represents Michigan and Eastern Canada, which I run. So if you're a Trekker within the sound of my voice in one of those spots or even somewhere else, like to get connected with some other folks, find us on socials or at our website of that name. So with that, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Take us out.
All right.
I flipped the script. I flipped the script on you. Sharing is caring, and keep on trucking.
There we go. May the force be with you. Rex, play us out.
That's a short one.
I'm useless without my cues, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh my God.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.